Welcome to In the Trenches with Dave Lapham. It is Monday, August 2nd, 2021, Cincinnati Bengals training camp at Paul Brown Stadium. News of the day, a little bit of a shakeup in the offensive line. Frank Pollock told me that might very well happen here pretty quickly. He needs to find out his best combination. Who's working best together at guard and tackle? Which center and both guards are working more cohesively in the interior of the offensive line? That's what he has to find out. And if you want to catch more about what Frank Pollock's thinking about his offensive line, we've got a podcast video cast with Frank Pollock that will be available to everybody Tuesday, August 3rd. Make sure to check it out. He was outstanding, to say the least. And I think that in his mind, Quentin Spain and Xavier Su'a-Filo, the two veterans, had not separated themselves enough from what the young bucks were doing. So if that's the case, why not see if the younger guys might be a better combination with who's going to be playing at the tackle position? So he put Jackson Carman at the right guard spot and Michael Jordan at the left guard spot. Now, is that cast in stone? No. But I think, at least for a day, he wanted to see if those combinations worked a little bit better together. Michael Jordan working with Jonah Williams, Jackson Carman working with Riley Reef. Although, unfortunately, Riley Reef limped off the football field. Didn't look like it was really severe, but it's a big blow because Riley Reef is definitely not only the leader of the offensive line, but the leader of the offense. I mean, he's a veteran player that knows what things are supposed to look like, and everybody looks up to him in that huddle. There's no question about it. But I do think the offensive line there's still going to be a lot of shuffling going on. I do think that if healthy, Riley Reef obviously is the right tackle when healthy, and at the left tackle position, Jonah Williams, I think, has a big inside track on that. So it's every place else, though, in the interior, it's anybody's ball game. The positions are up for grabs. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how it all shakes down during the course of training camp. And I mentioned Riley Reef and what an impact he's had on the rest of his teammates. He's almost like an extension of the coaching staff on the field. And defensively, there's a player that, in my mind, players are gravitating toward in that regard. That's Mike Hilton, the cornerback, the slot corner signed from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, he's played for a very good defense at a very high level for a long time. So he knows what things are supposed to look like to win football games defensively in the National Football League. And he's the best slot corner blitzer the league has to offer. He can provide pressure as a blitzer, and I think Lou Anarumo is going to utilize him very, very extensively in that regard. And I think he has really got a lot of respect from his teammates at a very early pace here at training camp. He's somebody that has really established himself very, very early, not only on the football field, but off the football field. Defensive ends, the H-boys, Hubbard and Hendrickson, they continue to set the edge in the running game and come off the edge as pass rushers. But a young man, Hendrickson, missed Saturday's practice, and Khalid Kareem got the snaps. And Khalid Kareem is playing well. Yeah, he's a young edge player that I think is putting himself in position to get 15, 20 snaps a game in a rotation as a defensive end. Maybe the third, maybe the fourth defensive end, but he's going to get some playing time if he's playing the way he's playing. There's absolutely no question about that. And as a unit, this defense, with the rush that they're putting on and what they're doing in the secondary, coverage and rush go hand in hand. They're suffocating the Bengals offense. The last couple of days, it has been big time victories for the defense everywhere on the football field, between the 20s, the red zone and the low red zone, first and goal separate situations. Offensively, the big three wide receivers and tight ends, they aren't getting the separation. Particularly in the red zone. It's been really, really amazing to watch what the defense is doing in the red zone against this quality pass receiving unit. And Joe Burrow's getting a little bit frustrated by it, as are all the other players. But, it's quite amazing to me because don't have shoulder pads on yet. And that's supposed to favor the offense. The defense can't jam. They can't put their hands on wide receivers yet. They can't reroute them. So that usually favors the wide receivers getting free releases and doing a job, but defensively, they are right there. They're sticky. I mean, they're right. They're salty. They're right there with them. Pads come on tomorrow. So when shoulder pads come on, by league rule, they can't get physical and put their hands on wide receivers until it's full pads. Full pads start tomorrow, so it's going to be even more difficult. So it's going to be interesting to see if the offense can respond and give Joe Burrow some separation, some room to throw the football. It's been pretty impressive to watch these guys.
At First Star Logistics, we're a very strict company that really puts the pressure on our employees. Breaks? What are those?
That's what I'm talking about, Icky. Get the body right, then the mind's right.
Gotta get that body right.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Become a star with a chance to earn the highest commission percentages in the industry as a freight broker agent. Check out firststarlogistics.com.
Finally, let's talk about the linebacker position on the defense, because this group hasn't been talked about much, but it's a group that's young. And Wilson, Davis Gaither, and Bailey were all rookies last season. They were all drafted in last year's draft. Not last year, the year before, I should say. They're second-year players. And now they've got some NFL snaps under their belt, and they're starting to understand the big picture, not just tunnel vision or what their assignment is. And their growth has been really extraordinary. They don't just understand what they're supposed to do. They understand why they're supposed to do it and the big picture of the entire scheme. And they're making much quicker reads. They're playing downhill, playing very, very aggressively. Al Golden is the linebacker coach. I think he's got a lot to do with it. I think their physical abilities have a lot to do with it. And I think the experience they're accumulating has a lot to do with it. And this linebacker group, this position is the biggest growth of any position, in my opinion, that they didn't address in this year's draft or this year's free agency. So it's they just letting them grow and develop. So they're making quicker reads and they're getting things done. The linebacker Jermaine Pratt, going into his third year, he made an unbelievable play today defensively against Joe Burrow. We're in cover 3. He had great route recognition, and he undercut the route and made a great play on it. And the defense absolutely exploded. I mean, they were just going like they won the Super Bowl. So the defense is playing with a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, and the offense has to respond. The offense has to come back and put those pads on, put the big boy pads on, and play like big boys. So far, it's all been about conditioning. They had a conditioning test on Tuesday to see what kind of shape they were going to be reporting to training camp in cardiovascularly. Then they had 4 straight practices, which in my mind was football conditioning at that point, because it wasn't full pads. It was underwear ball. They had their helmets on, obviously, but 4 practices, and then they had a day off. And then today was the last football conditioning practice, because tomorrow, Tuesday, August 3rd, the pads come on. And that's when the real true player evaluation begins, because until you get a good look at all the players in the trenches, on the edge, in the skill positions, everywhere, with equipment on, full equipment, because that's the way the game is played, player evaluation is incomplete. But the real deal starts in earnest tomorrow, and players know that. So it's going to be very interesting to see who steps up their game. And as a matter of fact, a lot of guys are fighting to step up their game to make that 46-man roster. That's the game day roster. But 53 guys will suit out on Sunday. There'll be 7 deactivations that they'll make on game day, based on injury and all other factors. But also there's 16 more players that are going to be named to the practice squad because of COVID problems and the Delta variant and everything else. The league has decided to stay with the 16 practice squad players like they had last year. The league does not want to have COVID infest a team and just strip it of a roster where they can't compete in the football game on Sunday. So they've got 16 practice squad players available to prevent that from happening. So you look at it, 53 plus 16, if our Mrs. Riley taught me to add right in the 3rd grade, is 69 players. So there's always going to be a couple of injured players that are on some sort of an injured list or whatever as well. So now the roster is going to be probably somewhere in the low 70s around the National Football League on a regular basis. And that's not surprising because, like I said, there's still some COVID concerns and everything that goes along with it. So your ultimate goal is to make the 46 player game day roster. but 53 is your next goal. But still, if you can make the practice squad, and you're still in the National Football League, you're still keeping your dream of playing in the National Football League alive. That's not a bad situation. In the next week or so, there's going to be there's going to be a roster cut to take it down to 85 players. There's not that many more guys they have to worry about letting go. Players that are going to be let go, 16 of them are going to come back for the practice squad. So it's very interesting. Around the league, there's going to be a lot of football players that are going to have jobs that wouldn't have jobs in a more regular situation. So it'll be interesting to monitor, and a lot of things to try to evaluate in terms of putting together the best roster you possibly can. And now with pads coming on, that starts the next part of the evaluation process. And then you start hitting your teammates, and then in a couple of weeks you start hitting other people in different colored jerseys. And that's when the real deal happens, because working against your teammates every day in practice, you have a pretty good idea of what his strengths are, what his weaknesses are, what kind of moves he has, his best moves that aren't so good. And you start to, make adjustments. And it's a lot easier to work against a guy 3, 4, 5 straight days, full contact. It's not that way in the National Football League. It's every week you have a new opponent with new strengths, new weaknesses. And now, once you start hitting those different colored jerseys, it's the true test in the National Football League. So it's a step-by-step, piece-by-piece puzzle, and they're in the early stages of it right now. It's going to be very interesting to watch. Football starts when shoulder pads come on. Shoulder pads come on Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021. Can't wait.
Hi, Dave Lapham here. Have you heard about In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, presented by First Star Logistics? Catch new episodes from the world of sports and broadcasting. Search for In the Trenches with Dave Lapham on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.